Nama pressed her back against the cool palace wall, watching the moon climb higher in the night sky. Each step away from the imperial garden had brought a fresh wave of unease over her. The palace walls seemed to close in tighter with every passing hour. Her steps echoed softly through the dimly lit hallways. But her mind was racing faster than her feet. She had barely returned from the garden incident when a sealed parchment was slipped into her hand by a trembling servant. No words spoken, just the urgency in their eyes. Breaking the wax seal, Malmo unfolded the note. Beware the roses that bloom at midnight. Their beauty hides a thorn sharper than any dagger. No signature, no clue. Just a warning. Jinshi appeared behind her silently, reading over her shoulder. A threat? He murmured, his brow furrowed. More than that, Mama replied, her voice low. Someone close is playing a dangerous game. Poison is not the only weapon in this court. The message was clear yet cryptic. Who was their enemy? Why were they targeting her and the Emperor? And how did Midnight Roses play into all of this? Jinshi stepped closer, his gaze intense. Do you think it's connected to the poison plot? Malmo shook her head, her eyes searching the shadowed hallway. If it were, why threaten me now? No, this feels different, more personal. She could feel Jinshi's presence beside her, a comforting constant in the swirling chaos of intrigue. But even his usual confidence seemed shaken by the note. She knew because she felt the same unease that had settled in her chest. A chill wind snaked through the corridors, stirring the hanging scrolls and making the candle flames dance wildly. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the night. It echoed through the palace, bouncing off the walls and seeping into the marrow of their bones. Now Mao and Jinshi exchanged a startled look. Such raw terror she had not heard since the attack in the garden. Without a word, they started towards the commotion, moving like wraiths in the darkness. Each step brought them closer to the source of the scream, weaving through the silent palace until they reached the queen's chambers. Jinshi's hand tightened on his sword hilt. Even in the dark, he looked like a warrior carved from jade and shadow. The queen's personal guards stood outside, their faces pale and etched with worry. Jinshi inclined his head in greeting, but they did not return the gesture. Their eyes were wide with a terror that knew no shame or dignity. Pushing past them, Naoma and Jinshi entered the room. Moonlight spilled through the window, illuminating a sight that made Mamao's blood run cold. The queen lay sprawled on the ground, her silk nightgown torn and ashen, a single rose clutched in her lifeless hand. Its petals were a deep crimson, staining the otherwise pure white a horrifying shade of red. Beside the rose, half hidden under the skirt, lay a small dagger, its tip gleaming faintly in the moonlight. A murder most foul. And as Mamao's gaze swept the room, she saw more roses, each a silent witness to the horror that had unfolded here. On the dressing table, leaning against the ivory frame of a mirror, lay a half-written note. Picking it up, Namo began to read, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness of the queen's chambers. I never imagined this day would come, but duty calls. With a heavy heart, I must take a life to save a kingdom. Forgive me. Your Majesty, for I do this for the greater good. The words were elegant, the script flowing, yet they carried the weight of sacrifice and sorrow. But who was the author of this tragedy? And what greater good were they speaking of? As dawn painted the sky with hues of rose and gold, the news of the queen's demise spread through the palace like wildfire. The emperor, draped in black, his face etched with grief, held the queen's lifeless hand, his shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. The weight of his sorrow was palpable, echoing the sentiment of a kingdom in mourning. Yet amidst the sea of black, Namo stood out in her simple white robes, a beacon of hope in a gathering storm. She felt the weight of the emperor's gaze upon her, laden with 1,000 unspoken questions. She met his eyes, her own filled with quiet determination. Your Majesty, she began, her voice ringing with authority despite the tremor in her hands, we must find the person behind this treachery. For the queen, for the kingdom, and for justice. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the palace grounds, Namo found herself at the center of a maelstrom of deceit and death. With each passing moment, the palace walls seemed to close in, the once familiar corridors now echoing with the ghosts of secrets and lies. Theirs was a hunt that had begun in the shadowy depths of night and would lead them to the very heart of betrayal.